Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry to interrupt, but I am told we have to get started, especially because we have a lot of colleagues Zooming in as well. So good afternoon. Thanks to all of you for joining today here in person. We have many colleagues joining in by live stream for this inaugural State of BioMed Address. It's really an honor and privilege for me to be able to speak about the current state of biomed, where we are headed as we celebrate 50 years of medicine at Brown. Now, at such milestone moments, it can be helpful sometimes to reflect on the past. For you have to know the past to understand the present, as the astronomer Carl Sagan once said. So I thought I'd begin with some reflections before talking about the present and the future. My first engagement with the history of biomed at Brown began last summer when I was approached about this leadership opportunity. I remember receiving materials from the search firm and going, "You want me to lead what? A division? Not even a department? Aren't divisions smaller than departments? And what do you mean that your medical school is in a division?" All very perplexing, but it did pique my curiosity. And so I felt it proper to invest time to better understand the history of this division, its relationship to the university and the Rhode Island community, which, by the way, is a really fascinating history. And what I learned is that in 1960, Brown's 12th president, Barnaby Keeney, took a first step to reinstate a medical school. Note the use of the word reinstate. For President Keeney, a historian of significant repute, was undoubtedly aware of the initial effort for medical education at Brown some 136 years earlier. That 16-year effort from 1811 to 1827 ended consequent to an untoward event. Some may even qualify it as a ghastly event. But that's a story for another time and maybe over the proper type of beverage. Regardless of the details, the outcome was that it left the fledgling medical school at odds with the university, with the community, culminating in its dissolution. For the next century, consideration of medical education remained largely dormant until the re-engagement by President Keeney. With the president's support, early pioneers, Mac Eds, Pierre Galletti, Herman Chase, Elizabeth LeDuc, and others undertook an elegant experiment to bring biology and medicine together under the same organizational structure, the division. Now, like many things at Brown, the effort was boldly unorthodox and unabashedly ambitious. In fact, on September 28, 1965, so almost exactly 57 years to the day, the Pembroke Record asked the founders whether this approach had worked elsewhere. Chair of Biology Dr. Chase, the paper reported, admitted that it had never been tried. Dr. Etz conjectured that many would like to try it, but won't dare or can't. As I learned more about the history of the division, it seemed to me from its very beginnings, its leaders envisioned it to be a place that integrates and innovates for impact. By the early 70s, rumblings for the establishment of a full medical program were growing louder. The Brown Corporation responded and ultimately authorized a 4-year Doctor of Medicine program within the Division of Biology and Medicine. The corporation charged a 12-person committee consisting, interestingly, of 8 senior faculty, no surprise, but 4 students to develop the original curriculum. Parenthetically, these 4 students would go on to have remarkable careers in academic medicine, including our very own Steve Rasmussen, Chair, Department of Psychiatry and Human Behavior. How fascinating is that? The corporation also offered sage guidance. Design a curriculum that gives physicians an understanding of and sensitivity to the broadest aspects of human experience in its personal and social dimensions. That is to say, integrate social science and humanism into medicine. This year, we celebrate the 50th anniversary of that program, Medicine, that would eventually evolve thanks to a transformative gift into the Warren Alpert Medical School of Brown University. Now, over the years, the division has grown, gained traction, charted a distinct path to innovate for impact. Today, that experiment that began in a basement on Meeting Street has evolved into a very large enterprise. Could the pioneers even imagine what we've become today? 20 departments, 12 centers and institutes, 2,500 faculty, 2,000 trainees, 500 staff. We award over 400 degrees annually, from Bachelors of Science to Doctor of Philosophy or Medicine. Our faculty and students are spread across 8 teaching affiliates and Brown's Physician Inc., serving more than 1.6 million people of diverse backgrounds annually. And our faculty's total sponsored research funding reaches upwards of $244 million and has more than doubled over the past 9 years. And we've had impact in many, many ways. It's in educational innovation, like the program in liberal medical education, as well as our wide-ranging biology concentrations and student-designed independent studies. It's in our partnerships with historically Black colleges and universities, and our more than 40-year-old early identification program in medicine with Tougaloo College. It is in the laboratories across the division where our faculty and students are illuminating the inner workings of nature across all major kingdoms of life, efforts with implications for people and planet. It is in entities like the Brown School of Public Health and the Carney Institute for Brain Science that grew out of BioMed. And it is in the thousands of BioMed faculty and alums who have and continue to commit to helping those when they are most vulnerable, leading programs that advance human health in academia, government, and industry, and even founding international initiatives such as the International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War, recipient 1985 Nobel Peace Prize. I could name so many more examples, but I think it's clear. We innovate for impact. As we chart our future, it will be important to bear in mind our mission. Always good to be reminded of one's mission, which is to understand and improve the health of individuals and populations and the environments in which they live. And that mission, historically a tripartite one, is today upheld by 4 pillars: education, research, clinical care, and community engagement. It is within these 4 pillars that we strive to have impact that we seek in our community and around the world. These 4 pillars are interdependent. No one pillar can flourish without the others to help support and strengthen it. All 4 pillars are also built upon our goal to create a learning and training environment that fosters equity, diversity, inclusivity, wellness, and social responsibility across the division and beyond. And guiding our efforts in these 2 areas are 2 recently appointed leaders. The division's inaugural Senior Associate Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Dr. Patricia Poitevin, is leading our effort in DEI. And the Warren Alpert Medical School is in the vanguard of medical schools, prioritizing wellness through the appointment of Dr. Kelly Holder, our first Chief Wellness Officer. So let's take a closer look at each of these pillars. We'll begin with education. as our planet's biological systems, patient populations, healthcare delivery, and disease management undergo dramatic change and become ever more complex. We must innovate and train physicians and scientists who are prepared to tackle these challenges. To that end, we are working to ensure educational excellence for all our students at all levels: undergraduate, master's, doctoral, medical, and postgraduate. We have new leadership in education as well to help advance these efforts. A few months back, we announced the appointment of Dr. Starr Hampton as our new Senior Associate Dean for Medical Education. Dean Hampton envisions a careful reevaluation and potential redesign of our medical curriculum, one that will involve both faculty and students. In addition, to ensure that we are preparing medical students to become competent and compassionate physicians, particular attention will be paid to issues such as health equity and structural racism in medical education. And earlier this week, we announced a new structure that encompasses both undergraduate and graduate studies under the leadership of Dean Kate Smith. Dean Smith and her team will ensure that we offer evidence-based and inclusive education, increased experiential learning, increased research opportunities, all supported by robust advising and mentoring for both undergraduate and graduate students. Under both Dean Hampton and Smith's leadership, we will continue to strengthen our educational programs through the recruitment of the best and brightest, tailored advising, programming focused on inclusion and belonging. We will strive to increase the number of students from backgrounds historically underrepresented in medicine and science, and provide the support they need to be successful in their chosen field. And finally, we continue to increase opportunities for promising, motivated students for careers in medicine and other health sciences through new pathways, such as our successful Gateways to Medicine, Healthcare, and Research program. The second pillar is research. In 1963, President Keeney, when announcing that Brown was undertaking a program in graduate medical sciences, noted, "Our society has two great medical needs. One is for more people to apply the new medical science, and the other is for people to discover basic knowledge and find ways of applying it." As you probably know, earlier this year, Provost Locke and President Paxson announced the university's commitment to invest in research to enhance impact broadly. BioMed will be central to this effort, and the research vision we are advancing is one that values knowledge acquisition at all levels and across the research continuum, be it fundamental discovery in the laboratory, to the critical work conducted in patients to assess the efficacy of interventions, and ultimately the evaluation of impact at the level of population. My experience has taught me over the years that the full impact can only be achieved if one integrates across this virtuous cycle. This requires committed leadership, a shared vision and collaborative spirit, outstanding faculty and students, resource, and a diverse population in which one can assess impact before extrapolating to nation and world. Undoubtedly, some of you here, some online, are whispering that that aspiration being advanced, albeit laudable, is enormously challenging. I do not disagree, but I believe this biomedical ecosystem, this community, this state of 1 million lives has the requisite ingredients to achieve this highly ambitious goal. That being said, I also don't want to come across as being Pollyannish. There are major challenges. Truth be told, there always are. We have brilliant investigators and trainees, but we need more. We have research space, but it is insufficient to meet our aspirations. We are developing a shared vision for research with our health systems, but must work through the challenges inherent to education across disparate enterprises. We need to significantly fortify our ability to advance discoveries funded by the public sector and develop them to a point where they garner investment from the private sector. And at every step along the way, we need to include historically marginalized groups in the process to ensure that we are not perpetuating their exclusion and creating further health disparities. In this regard, I'm pleased to report significant progress over the past 7 months. Building on prior efforts, we have focused, rather obsessively I might add, on developing a scientific vision that justifies the need for growth in research space. That vision includes collaboration with the college, other schools, as well as our clinical partners. This vision was embraced by the corporation during the May meeting and included a commitment to support a new integrated life sciences building in proximity to where we sit today. Some of the areas of scientific focus that were discussed are shown for you on this slide. They include efforts combating communicable diseases that afflict the most marginalized citizens on the planet. Insights into aging that are so fundamental that they are conserved across species and impact nearly all age-associated processes. Efforts to combat some of the greatest sources of morbidity and mortality worldwide, particularly cancer, neurodevelopmental, and neurodegenerative disorders. And perhaps one of the most unusual opportunities is for Brown to be part of an international effort that seeks to create a positive impact for patients through scientific and translational discoveries in RNA biology. We have significant strengths in RNA science, but we seek to build upon this as part of a broader vision. As this scientific area is likely new to some, I thought I might digress just for a minute and share some details. RNA, along with its counterpart DNA, are the two molecules that govern the code of life. In 1990, the world joined forces to undertake one of the most ambitious scientific endeavors in human history that resulted in the first sequence of human DNA, the Human Genome Project. What is being contemplated now is to sequence its counterpart, RNA, an effort termed the Human RNome Project. The National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine are developing a roadmap with actionable steps for this undertaking. This initiative offers the potential to absolutely transform science and medicine, and it is being supported by the Warren Alpert Foundation. And finally, in coordination with university leadership, we are developing a strategic plan to bring biotech, biopharma, and other industries to the Jewelry District. This plan has the potential to catalyze economic and workforce growth for the Rhode Island community. The third pillar is clinical care. Our ability to attract and retain world-class, diverse faculty and trainees is essential if we are to provide the best clinical care for all people, including our underserved populations. Our clinical faculty who work within our communities have been and will remain vital to our vision. They take care of our neighbors, our families. They take care of us. Among our faculty are individuals who have national and international leadership roles. Presidents of the American College of Gastroenterology, President-elect of the Society for Gynecologic Surgeons, past president of the American College of Cardiology, just to name a few. These leaders help shape the standard of care in their fields, thereby extending our impact on the nation and world. Now, while we provide high-quality care, there is always room for improvement to ensure that all Rhode Islanders have access to affordable, equitable care. We are engaged in helping address issues of access to improve health equity in the state, and I'll come to that in just a few minutes. Another connection between the clinical pillar is with research. As some of you know, we've been in extensive discussions with our health systems to align and integrate research to ensure that we provide cutting-edge therapies to our citizens in their own backyard. I look forward to bringing these discussions that have gained traction to fruition. And finally, I would be remiss not to mention that 2 of our 3 health systems are actively seeking to identify new chief executive officers. These are enormously important searches that will impact our future. And I have the pleasure and privilege of actively participating in both searches, and I'm confident that we will identify outstanding individuals for these roles in the coming weeks and months. The final pillar is community engagement. With the preliminary goals of making more sustainable and impactful contributions to addressing health disparities in the state, BioMed is committing time, attention, and resource to community engagement. Our approach is intentionally community-centered, and we will follow 3 guiding principles. Engage the community early, often, and with humility. Center the community. Pay attention to what they've already said and share planned actions for input. Earn trust through action. One example is the Smart Plus clinic that recently opened at Calcutt Middle School in Central Falls. With generous support from the Warren Alpert Foundation, this school-based clinic provides primary care and behavioral services to students. I am incredibly proud that this is also the first smart clinic in the country to partner with a medical school. In addition to our medical students and faculty participating in clinical care, they provide mentoring and scholarship around health careers through a professional pathways program. The goal is to help guide middle school students from underrepresented in medicine backgrounds to pursue careers in healthcare. In addition, we have added new full-time staff who are working to increase the number of children and adolescents in other pathway programs, such as the Leadership Alliance, Week of Medicine, targeting high school students in Rhode Island, and Month of Medicine for undergraduates in the state. As many of you know, community engagement is a priority for the university. We certainly agree and look forward to working to ensure that our efforts are well coordinated and well aligned with the university. I'd like to end where I began, with the division. I understand it better today. I understand it to be a wonderful experiment. But having carried out a few experiments in my day, I know they require great care at each step to ensure success. This one began with the aspiration to integrate biomedical science with social science and humanism to advance knowledge. Today, we appreciate that to be successful, it will require individuals who reflect the richness of our diversity, thereby enhancing the chances that the outcome meets the diverse needs of our people and the planet. I am also mindful of the fact that there are significant headwinds, economic, social, political, and cultural challenges in the world today that will impact our aspiration. As such, the experiment can only continue to be successful if we unite as a biomedical community. And in addition to the partnership within the biomedical ecosystem, we will need partners from other sectors of society, government, business, and so forth. All of that will be critical to bring our efforts to fruition. Can we collectively rise to the moment, develop a shared vision, agree on our North Star, and successfully advance this experiment? There are rare moments in history where the convergence of disparate forces unveils an opportunity that, if seized, can lead to transformative impact. We are in such a moment. But there is a challenge for all of us. Do we have the clarity to recognize that moment, the courage to embrace it, and the conviction to invest ourselves of it? If we choose to engage, it will undoubtedly shape and define who we are tomorrow. But if we accept complacency, we risk the opportunity simply slipping away. I am optimistic that this community would carry out the experiment successfully. This is what drew me to Brown, to this community. It brings me to work every day. We have committed leadership at the level of the university, health systems, biomed, within our departments, institutes, and centers to help guide. And most importantly, we have brilliant and innovative students, staff, and faculty, the fabric of our ecosystem, who are more than capable of helping to achieve our aspiration. I hope that you will join me in this shared vision, where what I had initially seen as our untraditional structure in the division of biology and medicine is now viewed as one of its greatest assets. We have to work together to leverage that strength as a uniquely kindred community to continue the grand experiment that started over 50 years ago. We must continue that legacy to innovate and expand our impact on the future of science and medicine. Thank you for being here, for all your support, and for all that you do to advance our mission. Thank you. So my comments were purposely short, so we have time for questions. And we received a number of questions submitted by members of the community prior to today's event. Some clear themes emerged, so I thought I'd begin by answering those first. And then we'll open it up, and there's a microphone to your right. So question number one for the community. There we go. What are the plans for integrating research across all faculty, campus and hospital-based? So this question was asked by a lot of people, a lot of folks. And what I would say is, and I think it just reflects the importance of the issue. I'll just remind the group, and I alluded to this, but just to expand a bit, the vision here in integrating the two schools, School of Medicine, Public Health, with the health systems, was really an effort to integrate across that continuum of research from laboratory to population. These efforts to integrate or align research have been going on for a few months now, most of the summer rather intensively. And we've agreed on high-level organizational structure. We've agreed to utilize a phased approach to coordinate our efforts around research. We're particularly focused on improving the faculty experience and enhancing productivity. As I look out in the audience to many of the investigators, I'm sure resolving issues related to IRB, subcontracting, those kind of challenges would be most welcome. And I think what you'll see over the next few weeks and months will be additional progress in this space that we hopefully will be able to share with the community. I also want to take a moment to make sure that I recognize that we do have a very strong relationship with the third health system, the VA, which is incredibly important. And we have leaders from the VA who are kind enough to join us today. We have programs, the Center for Neurorestoration, Neurotechnology, Cardiopulmonary Vascular Biology, COBRA, that are real points of intersection. And then, of course, advanced CTR, led by Dr. Rounds and Hart, touches the division, all our clinical partners, and frankly, the entire state. So these are, that's a really important, I think, exemplar of the kind of excellence that can be achieved if we work together. But to answer that question directly regarding integration, a lot of work, progress made, and hopefully additional updates to follow in the weeks and months to come. Let's see, there's the next one. What are the plans for the medical school to collaborate with the School of Public Health and Engineering? All right, so I think, great question. And I'll say with respect to both schools, a wonderful example of that collaboration is gaining the input of colleagues from both schools as we developed a vision for the integrated life sciences building. That's one. Research integration with the health systems I've already referenced includes the medical school, School of Public Health, and health systems. That's another point of collaboration. And then there are specific collaborations with the School of Public Health or School of Engineering, and the ones that come to mind quickly are, for example, the Hassenfeld Institute, which has recently received additional support. And the focus here is to eliminate disparities in outcomes during pregnancy and childhood. And that is a very robust collaboration between the two schools. And we're working on a few other areas. The one that I think has probably gained the most traction is in the aging space with a focus on frailty. And so we've had several very productive meetings, and I hope that we can bring that to fruition over the following months. With the School of Engineering, in addition to what I've already mentioned, the life sciences building and research integration, probably the best example is the effort around biomedical engineering and the establishment now of an institute, which again will be a very robust collaboration between the two schools. Very excited to welcome a fabulous new dean to our community, or welcome back home a fabulous dean in Tejal Desai. All right, let's see. Okay. Can we find, this is from presumably a student, can we find more ways for deans and faculty to interact with students for us to feel more connected? Yeah. So absolutely, and I think I'm looking at Dean Hampton, who's in the front row, and I know that she agrees when we say this is really, really important to both of us and frankly the entire leadership group. I'll just say, you know, when I first started, it was something that I was very attuned to, and I had the pleasure and privilege of meeting years 1, 2, 3, 4 in rapid succession, student ambassadors, the student senate, the student affinity groups, even helped launch a local chapter of APSA, American Physicians Society. And we're planning an initial symposium in March of 2023 and have an amazing keynote speaker for them. And we'll also be starting something that I think with the pandemic had sort of fallen by the wayside, but monthly lunch with the dean. The students will tell you, and I'm looking at Elliot in the front row here, I do also have a bad habit, a good habit, I'm not sure, of inviting myself to student events or just showing up, saying hi for a few minutes. Usually if there's free food, I'm there, you know? And we've had wonderful engagements, particularly on the terrace. We've had a beautiful summer, as you all know. And so that's been great. And I think, you know, Star has just been in her role a little over a month, but she and her team have very, very ambitious goals for engagement with students. They'll be meeting with each class you know, it's at a regular cadence, and lots of small informal sessions. And I'll finally say that if there are, you know, for the students here or out that have Zoomed in, if you have additional suggestions, please just reach out, send us an email. You know where we are on the 4th floor. You can always stop by as well. Let's see. Next question is, what is the division doing or planning to do to support HUG faculty? So I'm going to give you, I'll tell you what we're doing, but I'm going to give you the punchline first, which is we need to do more. That's the truth. We obviously have a great leader in Dr. Poitevin, and I mentioned that in my remarks. And she's, you know, Pat is very deliberate, and she wants to develop a proper strategy, and her focus touches both DEI and community. So there are efforts that are ongoing, but we're going to fortify them as a more, I guess, a more comprehensive strategy is developed. But even today, our Office of Diversity and Multicultural Affairs has several initiatives in mentorship, leadership, and advocacy for HUG faculty. Programs, and I had to write them down because the acronyms are hard to remember. MedStep, mentoring and education diverse students and trainees to excel as physicians. Or BASC, Brown Advocates for Social Change and Equity. These are just two examples of the efforts that our ODMA office is involved in. Dr. Poitevins also has initiated a diversity engagement survey for all faculty, students, and staff at Brown and through the clinical systems to get a better understanding of how is the community feeling with respect to issues of inclusion and a sense of belonging. And finally, and I'm looking out at Dean Kaylee Burns, the two of them are partnering through advancement to secure funding for researchers who are from HUG backgrounds. That's obviously an ongoing effort. We, as in biomed, we as a university, are actually very, very fortunate to have incredible supporters. And so I'm optimistic that we'll be able to have success in that regard. And then the final, I think this was the final question that we thought came up from, right. How does, and it relates to community engagement, how does Dean Jain see the future of community engagement, state and local, for the medical school? So first, it's really great. You know, this is our newest pillar, and it's really great that there's a real desire. It's on the top of the minds of our faculty and staff and students about community engagement. We recognize that. That's why we made it a new pillar, a 4th pillar. And what I would say is, again, here, Dean Poitevin is developing a strategic plan for community engagement. And as I said in my remarks, it's very, very focused on community-centered. You know, the community has actually given a lot of information over the years. We, perhaps as a biomedical community, need to do a better job in listening. My other sense is that there has been a lot of activity, be it at the medical school, be it at the university level, but it's done in isolation or in maybe a less than optimally coordinated fashion. So we're investing time and resource to rectify that issue. But I think the biggest part is really to build trust with the community, because what's happened is, whether it's, you know, good intentions but not well coordinated, or maybe we've been asked to respond but haven't done it because we thought that was more important than that. I think we have to regain the trust of the community. And I know Pat and I have met with a number of community leaders. We've really appreciated the guidance from the Rhode Island Foundation, Neil Steinberg and colleagues, who have a lot of information in this space. And so we're leveraging the insights that we're receiving or from individuals who have great knowledge in this space to develop a strategic plan. But I think, and Pat always says this in our leadership meetings, before we build programs and initiatives, we want to create a foundation. And if we do that, it'll be a more enduring relationship with the community. And so that takes a little bit of time. It may not occur as quickly as folks may wish, but I think the goal here is to have enduring impact. And so being more deliberate and doing it properly is better than trying to do it quickly. And so these are some of the most frequently asked questions. I am happy to entertain. Again, the microphone is to your right. If there are other questions, sure.
This is really more of a comment than a question. First of all, I think this is a great idea to do a biomed, State of the BioMed thing every year. I think it's fantastic. I also really like that you just show up at student gatherings and poke your nose in. I think that that's a really great way to get information. And one of the problems with any kinds of plans where you're trying to, let's say, improve our relationships with state and community and so forth, one of the problems is when leaders talk to leaders and they don't talk to the people underneath the leaders, they don't always get an accurate view because the leaders in each of those groups could be as disconnected from the people they represent as, some of us might be from the people we represent. Right. So I think that it's really important to take that same approach and talk to the people, like you do with the students dropping in. Just talk with some people who are not leaders in the community, and the same would be true with the biomed community. Right. So I think you get a lot more information that way.
Yeah. I really appreciate the comment, and I think I'm maybe reading a little bit into it, but one thing that I hope to do is start to spend a little bit more time on the Hill. I don't know if this is where you were thinking, Anita, but I'm going to be spending more time on the Hill because I actually have a lab now, it turns out. And so what my hope is to spend part of my Fridays there, and that'll give me an opportunity, hopefully, to walk around. Maybe I see Dr. Bennett next to you. Maybe just drop in and be nosy, or maybe more importantly, visit his lab, and talk to the trainees in the lab. Maybe I'll do that, or the staff. Yes, I appreciate the comment. Thank you. Oh boy. I know this guy. This is trouble. Yeah.
I'll be good today. So my name's Tyler. I'm one of the MS4s, EM Bound, and I was the previous president of the AMS Senate.
Yeah.
And one of the topics that came up was about the summer research assistantship. And for those of you that don't know, the research assistantship is a $3,500 scholarship given to first years entering their summer between first and second year to fund them conducting research through the summer. And for many students, this is their first kind of dive into clinical research. I can say that from my experience, a lot of students actually don't get granted that stipend because there's a lot more need than what is available. Yeah. And over the next couple of years, I've heard kind of consistently that there seems to be a persistent unmet need. And that stipend definitely takes a lot of weight off your shoulders and lets you really focus on that stuff in the summer, especially in those formative years. So I just wanted to know if biomed advancement was or had set any goals or had really taken any steps to work towards addressing that need.
Yeah. I see I see Dean Burns is responding in the audience, no, it's, so, first of all, Tyler, it's great to, your question is great because I love the fact, as a researcher, that students are passionate about research, so that's really great. And you are right, you know, we do have endowed student funds. Part of our Brown Medical Annual Fund supports student research. Some of our departments, not all, but some of our departments have discretionary dollars to support research. I have, working with Dean Hampton, we're trying to identify students that might want to take and participate, not just the summer, but a year-out program. I started a national program called the Physician Scientist Support Foundation. It's our first year. It's an effort for the experts in the audience will remember the Howard Hughes Medical Institute year-out program. We're much smaller, but trying to fill that gap because that program was sunset a couple of years ago. These are all opportunities, some of them for the summer, some of them year-out, a little bit longer, more intensive experience. But I don't disagree with the comment that what we have available is still insufficient. And you know, I think we will, we are really doubling, tripling down our efforts for that. So I don't have a better answer other than to applaud you and your colleagues for your interest in research. We recognize the issue. We love it that you want to do more research. And we're working really hard to identify resource opportunities for that.
Thank you. I know you guys are doing a great job. Just figured I would bring it up when I could.
Boy, I thought Tyler was tough. Now this is real trouble.
Yeah, Steve Salloway from Neurology and Psychiatry. So thanks so much for hosting this today. I guess my question and comments are about where we are in the sort of the state of development of research and the evolution of the medical school and the university. And I want to say I'm so appreciative, Kaylee's here, and others, and yourself and predecessors for the support for Alzheimer's research and making it front and center. It's a dream come true, and it's amazing. And I totally agree with you that there's certain moments that come in time where stars align, and this is one of them. And I also agree with the points that you made about the challenges. So, and that's, I guess, what my question is, in terms of integration and outreach. So there, I applaud that the university wants to dramatically grow the research enterprise. And there was a call last week with Chris and the provost to talk with the faculty about that. I was surprised that you weren't there as part of that. And it felt like the medical faculty, which is such a large part of the research enterprise at the university, just had a very minor role. And it's been so hard for us, even though, boy, we're really making progress, but really to feel totally integrated and part of the whole fabric, and to maximize what we can do as a collective group across from the clinic to the basic sciences. So that's one, is how to foster that collaboration. And the second applies really to the outreach as well. So there's a mandate across medicine now to make our research more diverse and to really make progress in health disparities.
Yeah.
But each of us is going about it, and Alzheimer's, this is a top priority for us, and we're going about it full force, and I'm sure in many other aspects of medicine the same way.
Yeah.
How can we integrate our efforts so we're not all deploying teams into the community, but we're all really working toward the same thing, and the underserved groups really need to know across the board what resources are available. What research they can participate in, et cetera.
Right, yeah, no, it's, well, thanks, Steve. It's a great and a very hard question. So first of all, perhaps, I'm sorry I wasn't at the meeting. It may not have been the provost or president's fault. It might have been mine. I don't remember the meeting, so I'll just note that. I'm sorry that I wasn't there. I would say, though, that it is, I would say that even though you may feel that medicine or biomed is not at the core, Steve, it's hard to say that we are not. I mean, the largest investment in the university's history was approved at the May Corporation, and it is an integrated life sciences building with significant consideration of programs that you are passionate about, brain science, Alzheimer's in particular. So I just want to note that, but I'll move to the other part of your question as I understood it, that the issues of coordination, outreach. And this is why I fear I will have a less than satisfactory answer, but just bear with me for a second. That is precisely why, and I know you understand this, that is precisely why research integration is so important. Because there's like stuff like this all over the place, and it's under-resourced, it's haphazard or poorly coordinated, in many, many areas, research being one of them. And that's why it's almost my reason to be at times, certainly this summer, has been to push that effort along. I think if we can achieve that alignment, that integration, it'll be hard work, it's well worth the effort. I think we'll be able to coordinate across institutions, across hospitals, and across schools in a much more deliberate, coordinated way. And that is going to help our faculty, it helps our students, it helps our community, and it helps our community because we can then with clarity articulate what we can or cannot provide. So I may have not, as I said, I may not have answered your question to full satisfaction. But that is why, and I look around and I can see a lot of leaders in research that are here today, and I can't see you online, but I'm sure there are many that are tuning in by Zoom. And I think it is really incumbent upon all of you. This is the moment. This is the moment to have your voice, your passion for this endeavor heard. There is power in that collective voice. And I will do my best. We have other leaders that are doing their best. But, established, remarkable individuals like yourself or young people, new faculty who are passionate about this, it's time for you to voice your opinion about it. It'll help. And that's what I mean about, and you referenced it, that's what I mean about sort of seizing the moment, the opportunity. So thank you for that. Yes.
Hi, my name is Krista. I'm a second-year medical student here, and I was reading a little bit in advance of your remarks. And you have such a strong biomedical background in both research and clinical care, and I just wanted to ask if you recognize in yourself any weaknesses in addressing issues of social medicine and DEI, because people will invest like so many years of their careers to understand the complexities of it. And you're now entering the space where you'll be a part of those spaces and those decisions.
Yeah.
If you find that there are any difficulties you have and what plans you have to understand those spaces that
Yeah.
you're now going to be, holding tremendous power in and the ability to make change.
Yeah. It's a great question. So you asked me, and I will answer your question, but if you allow me a moment of levity, you said about weaknesses. Oh my God, I have so many. How much time do you have? And you know who knows them the best? There's an individual in the front row, happens to be my significantly better half. She could spend hours telling you about my weaknesses. You're right. I have focused much of my professional life in the research space. That's what I can bring to the table. But I want to tell you something about leadership that I hope will be encouraging to you. There is no leader who knows everything, right? I will tell you today that the team that has been developed, and I'm looking at Dean Hampton at the front, Smith, Burns, Pat was unable to join us, but I know she's zooming in, she's at a meeting. This is an A-plus team. These are people with domain expertise that far exceeds mine, far exceeds, okay? What I bring to the table, or what my job is, to identify individuals that know areas much better than me, important areas, and I trust you agree that this is an important area, to support them and then stay out of their way. Now, I'm not going to be completely out of the way in the sense that I, along with the other senior deans, are all part of a team that will weigh in on decisions as they're made. So you shouldn't worry that there is, in some way, excessive power invested in someone who may not have domain expertise, but we have those individuals. The principle of leadership, as I see it, is, again, to reiterate, best people, support them, and what I also bring, I believe, a little bit of to the table is lived experiences on how things work within complex organizations. So I can sometimes remove barriers so that Dean Hampton or Dean Poitevin or whoever my colleague is, that their work can be facilitated. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's my answer.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, let's see, are we, okay, I am told, sorry, I didn't bring my phone with me, so I don't know what time it is. I am told maximum one more. Is there final takers, or are people just excited to get to the reception? All right, well, I don't see anyone running to the microphone. I'm obviously going to be around. I look forward. I hope you'll be able to join us at the reception and we can continue the conversation. So thank you, everyone, for being here again. I've been told, just to remind, the reception is on the 3rd floor, so you can take the steps up or the elevator. See you there.